Good morning and greetings from Northumberland on the 20th of March. It's a damp and misty day. We've had a few of those recently. Today is St. Cuthbert's Day. Many churches will be celebrating St. Joseph, whose day was transferred from yesterday. But today is St. Cuthbert's Day on 687. On the 20th of March, St. Cuthbert died just a couple of miles out to sea from here on the island of Inner Farne. And he is, for many people, the preeminent saint of the North. It could be argued that St. Aidan has precedence as the one who brings Christianity. But St. Cuthbert was a local, born somewhere probably in what we would now call the Scottish borders, which was still part of all the same kingdom at that time. His story, if you like, goes back to what we were celebrating on the 17th, just a few days ago, when we celebrated St. Patrick, a Christian from the west of our Ireland, who went to Ireland, who evangelized there, and who helped to establish the Irish Christian faith and the Irish monastic tradition. And it was from that tradition that King Oswald chose Aidan eventually to come and to evangelize our part of the world. And it's said that on the night that Aidan died, Cuthbert in the hills of the borders had a vision of Aidan being taken up to heaven. And so he went to Melrose, and he eventually ended up as prior on Holy Island. Let me just find my reading glasses and read a little bit from the Venerable Bede's life of St. Cuthbert. This is what Bede writes. God's holy servant Cuthbert spent many days in the monastery at Melrose, distinguishing himself by performing many acts of power. Then Ita, his abbot, transferred him to the monastery of Lindisfarne as prior, to teach the true rule of monastic life, and to adorn it by his perfect example. He continued his regular visits to the ordinary people in the region, to inspire them to seek and to be worthy of heavenly rewards. He became revered for his miracles, for his prayers healed many who suffered from all kinds of illnesses and adversities. After many years in the monastery, and with the support of the abbot and the monks, at last he embraced with great joy the remoter solitude he had desired for so long, and for which he had thirsted and prayed. Unlike Lindisfarne, Farne is an island far out to sea, not a tidal island, and Cuthbert was the first man with the courage to live there entirely alone. After some years had passed, a great synod was held, at which Cuthbert was popularly elected as Bishop of Lindisfarne. Despite receiving many letters and constant messengers, he refused to move. So the king and the most holy Bishop Trimvine, along with many other devout and notable leaders of the community, sailed across to Farne. There they knelt and exhorted him by the Lord, and wept and pleaded with him, until he finally came out from his beloved sanctuary, and with many tears was taken to the synod. Very reluctantly, he was won over by their unanimous decision, and compelled to take upon himself the yoke of the episcopate. And he continued that episcopate in parallel with preaching and seeking solitude. But it's said that maybe only after a year or so, he felt his end was coming. He resigned in office, returned to Farne, and died with a few companions on this day in 687. His body was transferred to Lindisfarne, where he was buried. This man, this local man, like others, like Chad and Jed and their brothers, were the early fruits of that Celtic Irish mission to this country. That mission which did so much to transform this land and particularly this region. That mission to which we who live here, and particularly those who have lived here all their lives, owe their Christian tradition and their faith. He is one of the reasons why many people regard this region as a cradle of Christianity. And so it's right that we celebrate him. And it's right that we follow his example, living in a Christian community. Our churches are those communities. Praying to God and seeking, as Cuthbert did in his unique way, to serve and evangelize our neighbours. If we call people and teach people the ways of Christ, then we will be fulfilling that same mission that Cuthbert put before us. It's one of the privileges of my ministry here to be responsible for Farne, although because of COVID and bird flu, I haven't been able to actually land on Farne more than twice in the last 4 years. But it is a great privilege to be a custodian of this place that is so important to our Christianity. May God bless us and guide us in following the way of St. Cuthbert, and by turning to him as an example of our Christian discipleship. God bless us all.